hello to everybody. I'm very happy to exchange with fellow people, mathematicians who do outreach and a little bit of art with no pretension to be artists. So my take is I want to tell you two stories, a little bit different stories. One about a project which is called Street Math that we do with my friend and colleague Marie Lucier in Lyon. It's about bringing mathematics outside. The idea is that we can practice mathematics outside buildings with white concrete walls together, and we don't need to sometimes even have any very pushed mathematical background. And the second project is on kind of different spectrum, on the different side of the spectrum, let's say, of education. It's ongoing project with an artist, Sylvie Pic, who works in Marseille, and about this idea that communication between artists and mathematicians is possible, a fruitful communication for both sides is possible, but sometimes needs time. So I am a mathematician. I'm working in dynamical systems and geometry, which are domains of mathematics, whose goal is to understand movement and form. The two directions in which I was working is to reunite art and research in mathematics. To be sincere, art is very helpful to researchers for communication of our research. Sometimes if you have a beautiful image, it's very easy to share it at conferences and colleagues love it, and it's very important for our communication, but it's not maybe for the art part of the story, it may be not very interesting. At least it's not the goal for the art is here to be an illustration in mathematics, and I understand that this is not really the interest for artists. So, but I think it's important to say because it's something which is very developed in mathematical community, using video art to illustrate mathematics. I'm very interested on this project, which I will tell you about an ongoing research with Bruno Svenec, which was inspired by a series of artistic works. So this direction, I think we don't speak often about it, how art can inspire mathematics. And I did several things where art was a means of outreach, of sharing mathematics with people who don't necessarily have a long story of studying mathematics, but have an art vibe. So we did a theater play, a web exhibition, a blog. I did some scripts for some movies. We wrote a book with Clémence Perronnet and Claire Marc. There is very little mathematics in it, but I wanted to mention it because it's about sociological point of view on the question of exclusion from mathematics, like how it happens that many people don't have a chance to practice mathematics, and even if they're interested in it, and how they're pushed from it. And I think it's an important question, and that I want to address when I do outreach. I want to everybody to be able to do mathematics. And this book is also illustrated and put in form by Claire Marc, who is a science mediator. So there are many pictures in it, and Claire's artistic skills are very important for this book to be read, I think. It's much more pleasant to read a book with pictures, I find personally. First project is Street Math. So the idea is we started in COVID pandemic. So we were home alone and we wanted to do some math outside. The idea of the project is to create something in the streets outside with many people, as many as we can reach. So if you go by, you can join. We wanted to kind of break this one-to-many teaching situation and have some horizontal exchange of information, that people take something from a mathematical algorithm, an idea, and share it to each other, so we kind of have the less work possible, and we create this kind of things. For example, here you see Sierpinski gasket. It seems impressive, but it's only 12 people working for 2 hours with 5 children. Thanks to the fact that there are many holes, there is not so much work. And the thing is that you can start in different places, right? This is a mathematical form that gives you this idea that you can start in specific points of the gasket because it has symmetries, and you can start drawing 3 triangles at the same time from different points. So we did many events, and teachers in schools got inspired. We have 2 articles where we give documentation. So if you want to do something like that, so we have different forms. You have mandalas, we have curves approached by lines, we have links and nodes, Truchet tilings, indices of curves, thanks to work of Hugo and Bruno. Etc., etc., columns, and it's accessible to any age. So the only restriction is to be interested in drawing with chalk. And the second project I wanted to speak about, it's an ongoing project with Sylvie Pic. So she's an amazing artist in my humble view. And what I find very interesting in Sylvie's work that she has some background in descriptive geometry. So she studied in Beaux-Arts in Marseille, and so I wanted to show you one of her works that shows her aisance with projective geometry. So you see it's a bridge in Saint-Antoine, and she draws some forms on the bridge, and when you pass on a car by the bridge, you just see a triangle, right? So you need some impressive calculations. I mean, impressive, something which was considered basic by projective geometers in 19th century, but that today, as mathematicians, we have trouble doing, so we will use some mathematical, some programs to do it. I mean, we can do it, but we do something else. And what do? We actually ask some questions about surfaces that Sylvie Pic is also asking. So for me, it's in some sense a perfect collaboration, because not artists are like this, but for this collaboration, for me, what is interesting that Sylvie Pic asks questions that I can translate to mathematical language and that make sense for me, and it's so she studies surfaces a lot, and the question she asks about surfaces have this mathematical taste, even though she would say, I don't do mathematics. That's what I find impressive in her case. So we met each other because we were teaching together at one program, bachelor program in Marseille, which is called Sciences et Humanités, which is a program for students who are interested to study life from perspective of different sciences, and the sciences and humanities meet together. So we were teaching a course on perspective. I was speaking about projective geometry, and Sylvie was talking about art history and how perspective arrived in art history. And then I organized a workshop in Marseille where 10 mathematicians and artists met, and we tried to co-create together. And Sylvie proposed a workshop there, which was called Drawing an Infinite Möbius Strip in Perspective. So the idea is the following: you take a circle, you take a pen, and then you move with your pen around a circle, but once you make a full turn, your pen has to be in the other direction. That's the only rule for now. Then the question is how you move your pen, right? There are many ways to move your pen. And Sylvie proposed one way, and in the workshop we discussed that there are many ways to move a pen around a circle in the way that then it makes a turn, right? And you will obtain a surface, and then Sylvie was interested to imagine that the pen doesn't have finite length, but an infinite length, right? So these are examples of the works by students on the workshop, and this is what professional artists can do. So Sylvie Pic drew these 4 surfaces. So you see 4 paintings. Each of the paintings represents one surface, but you see 4 points of view going around the painting. And what is, for a mathematician, there are many questions to ask about the surfaces. So you see pictures I can do of the surfaces. So, okay, I want to define beauty in -2 minutes, which are left, but clearly this is more beautiful than this, right? But my take is that the surfaces that Sylvie draws are root, meaning that you have lines on them, semi-algebraic surfaces of degree 3, means that if I write equations, I can do that, I will obtain the equations of degree 3. And the auto-intersection of the surfaces are straight lines, which doesn't seem obvious from the first point of view. And actually, it was not obvious for Sylvie neither. So when she drew it first time, she thought that maybe the auto-intersection of the surface may be some kind of curve. And I was very happy that I could understand that these are lines with the tools of algebraic geometry, like classical algebraic geometry, classical meaning it was discovered in the 19th century. But what impresses me that Sylvie can, by many drawings and redrawings, convince herself that these auto-intersections are really lines. So as she says, this morning, putting in proper from my descriptive geometry exercises, I finally understood, contrary to what I thought, that all the auto-intersection curves of all 4 surfaces are effectively lines. You were perfectly right, and surprisingly, my geometric intuition is sometimes false. But like St. Thomas, I do believe only what I see, so I have to redraw things a million times. For me, it's still not clear how she understands that, because the descriptive geometry tools that she masters, that she learned in her studies in Beaux-Arts and that she perfected in her artist career, I don't have them. I mean, I have to work a lot to get them back, and my understanding of this is algebraic geometry of today. And actually, speaking with Sylvie is very interesting, and I think there is also this question of the art of this descriptive geometry, how it's lost little by little by artists, like this art of calculation is lost by mathematicians. So there is something like in the history of art and mathematics, which is kind of you can see in our collaboration, that I find interesting. Yes, so. And yeah, we can prove some theorems about the surfaces. Maybe the take is that all the surfaces are actually projections into the 3-projective space of one object living in the 4-dimensional space. So it's like usually in art, when you draw a portrait of somebody, you take a projection of a person to your painting, right? And here it's the same, but the person lives in dimension 4 and you draw it in dimension 2, right? So it's a classical way of seeing art that inscribes itself in history, and I think also speaks a lot to Sylvie, who has training, which is she loves museums, and when I ask her how she deals with light and shade, she says, I just look at Caravaggio paintings and la 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 la. I have no idea how she does that, so I stop here. Thank you.